So for what you guys are going to need to know for your oral sewing test is everything that's on this list, and like I said, you can find it in your book, and then you can mark it on the sheet that they're going to bring to you. But I'm just going to go through and show you right now what the main parts are and what you need to know and how to thread the sewing machine. So these right here are your feed dogs. Some people call them a feed, some people call them a feed dog. And that just pushes the fabric through the machine. It comes as you turn the wheel towards you. See how it lifts the fabric, or it would lift the fabric up and down and move the fabric through the machine. You have your stitch length regulators right here. I know you guys probably can't see that. You might want to get behind me, but this is your stitch length regulator on this side of the machine. And then your stitch width is right here. The stitch length is what allows you to have wide stitches and small itty bitty stitches. And we'll learn more about the different types of stitches once we start talking about that. But that is what you will adjust whenever you sit down at the sewing machine. You always want to make sure that if you're just doing regular sewing, that you raise the number up to a 3, okay? Do you guys see that over there? Mm-hmm. All right. Then the stitch width regulator is the one that looks like a zigzag at the top. And that is basically what that does. It allows you to make a zigzag stitch, okay? The lower the number, the tighter the zigzag. The higher the number, the wider the zigzag. So that's the stitch width regulator. And then your needle clamp is this little screw right here that just basically holds the needle in place, okay? The presser foot, this is your presser foot. This is your presser foot lever back here on the back. Before you ever start sewing, you have to make sure that your presser foot is down. If it's not down, your thread is going to get tangled up. It's just going to become a big giant mess, and you're going to say, Miss Sauls, I don't know what's wrong, it's not sewing. Okay, so that's your presser foot. The take-up lever is right here. A lot of times people will mistake this little lever here, your presser foot lever or lifter, for the take-up lever. The take-up lever is on the inside here, and it basically does exactly what it says. It takes the thread up and down and guides your thread when you're sewing. So that is the take-up lever. The take-up lever allows you to be able to control your needle when you start sewing. You want to always make sure that you turn your hand wheel towards you, and I like to start with my needle in my fabric, because that way the fabric is not going anywhere whenever you start, especially once you guys start to sew slick fabrics. The needle plate is right here. So the needle plate has different measurements on it right here, and each one of these lines is 1/8 of an inch. The normal sewing seam allowance is 5/8, and it's usually always marked at 5/8. But the hem gauge that we just talked about, you can also use to measure from the center here to wherever you're at. So if you're not sure if it says sew at 3/8 inch seam allowance, right here in the center is 0, and then right on the inside edge of that foot there is 1/8 of an inch. On the outside is 1/4 of an inch, and then as you move over, that's 3/8, 4/8, 5/8. Okay, so that is your needle plate, and you're going to have to show me where 5/8 is. What position should the needle be in before you start sewing? Down in your fabric. What direction do you turn the hand wheel before sewing? Towards you. And then this is your reverse button right here. It actually has the U that reverses back. So you can just press and hold it, and it will go back a little bit whenever you first start sewing. You should always remember to sew back 2 or 3 stitches to secure your seam. Now when you guys start sewing on fabric, you won't have to stitch back. I mean, start sewing on the paper just to practice, you want to stitch back. Okay, stop right there.